They just need to hear. Can you hear me?
Hearing's the main thing.
Can you guys hear Jeff? Okay, copy.
Test. A little.
That's because it's going through your computer.
Okay. That's it. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Technical difficulties. I love technology.
I think we're set to go, so why don't we get this working session started?
Yep.
I guess right off the bat, Superintendent Nelson has some discussion or a comment, so statement, whatever you want to call it.
All right.
So we'll start out with you.
Okay. Hopefully we can make this a short night. So I just want to say good evening, and I want to start by thanking each of you for your time and the careful thought you are putting into this decision. Leadership transitions are never easy, and I recognize that this is a complex and emotional discussion. Our district is facing challenges, including budget constraints and a division within the community. My focus remains on student success and district stability. I want to be clear, very clear. I do not want to be the cause of further division. Instead, I want to be part of the solution, ensuring we make the best decision for the district and the students we serve. I want to provide an open and honest assessment and recommendation about the options before you tonight. If the board chooses to rescind my resignation, there are key benefits to consider. Continuity at a critical time. We have major initiatives underway, including preschool programming, union negotiations, and the referendum. Maintaining leadership ensures we stay focused on these priorities without disruption. Cost effectiveness. With financial challenges in mind, retaining a part-time leadership structure helps manage costs compared to hiring a full-time superintendent. Experience and familiarity. I can continue the work that needs to be done without the learning curve that comes with new leadership. However, I also recognize that the concerns about my leadership exist and could impact the referendum success. If I were to remain in this role, I would be committed to listening, engaging, and bridging divides to restore trust and strengthen relationships. Moving forward, the superintendent search presents an opportunity, several opportunities. Fresh perspective. A new leader may be able to reset community perceptions and unify different groups. Community trust. A search process allows the board to identify a leader who aligns with the district's needs and values. Long-term leadership stability. Finding the right person can ensure consistent and effective leadership for years to come. There are challenges to consider. Superintendent searches require time and financial resources. There is always a risk of not finding the right candidate, in which case the board may need to consider alternative solutions. If no strong candidates emerge, one option is to appoint an interim superintendent, or you could, depending on timing, reconsider me as a viable option. After careful reflection, I would like to recommend that the board move forward with a superintendent search. This will hopefully alleviate the division and help restore trust, which in the end will allow the district to better serve our students. I want to make it very clear that I respect whatever decision is made tonight. I will not take it personally, and I hold no ill will toward anyone in this room. I know that you are all doing your best to serve our students and staff, and I respect that. Our focus should always remain on what's best for kids, because at the end of the day, that's why we're all here. Thank you for your time and commitment on this.
Thank you, Superintendent Nelson. Yep. I guess at this time, I will let everybody know, no decisions or votes are going to be made tonight, so there is nothing that will be occurring. The only thing we're doing is an opportunity for Mr. Nelson to speak and for the board members to have discussion as well. So the final decision will be on the regular board meeting this February 27th.
Can I make another recommendation? Since last month you've already decided at a public meeting to move forward with the superintendent search.
Correct.
If you can get a general consensus, I think you can move forward without waiting until Monday. I think the sooner you contact Lee Warren at MSBA and get the ball rolling, the better off the district will be for getting a good pool of candidates. So I think if you're leaning that way and that's the way you're gonna go, I would encourage you to, it doesn't take a formal motion because you're already heading in that direction. The MSBA has all the data that I sent to them. All of you have completed your survey. So the next step would be to schedule a meeting so you can start the search process.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
This time I'll open up to the board for discussion, and Kayla and Robin, we haven't forgotten about you. We know you're back there, so whatever. Does anybody have anything to say?
I'm sure I do. Do you mind if I ask Jeff, are you comfortable sharing just with, not so much for the board's benefit, because we're pretty well privy based on, you know, the notifications we've received, and staff at the school have received an email regarding some of the choices that you've made along the way.
Yep.
But besides the word of mouth from the email that the you know, teachers and staff at the school have received, the rest of the community might not be completely aware about why we're here today and what kind of took place. And I just feel it's I think we just need to kind of start from the beginning as to why we're having this even discussion. Otherwise, there's a little bit, I think, confusion out there on that.
Yep. Like I indicated in some of my email communications, I did pursue a position, and the rationale for doing that, it was over by my hunting camp, and it was just one of those things that came up. I had not considered going to another school prior to that, but I thought this opportunity doesn't come up maybe every 5 or 10 years. So I was interviewed, I was offered the position, and when we negotiated the contract, we did not settle on that. And I had already submitted my resignation prior to that. And part of my thinking was the sooner that the board could start moving with the search, the better off this district would be. Not the best practice, and not in best judgment to protect my position here at Lake of the Woods. But I think in the end, things will fall into place. I'll end up where I need to be. But I think the goal for you folks is to make sure that you're doing what's best for the district. And I think, like I stated before, that referendum is crucial. And I don't want to be the reason for someone to vote no. I hope that wouldn't be. I hope they would focus on what's best for the kids in the community. But not everyone thinks that way. So, and then I did communicate with all of you and said this is falling out. What is your comfort level? I would not have sent out that other email explaining to the staff if the consensus I felt from the board was no, don't go in that direction. So, and I apologize for putting us all in this position, but I stand firm on my recommendation. I think you folks should do a search. I think there's been too much division, and right now I'm the center of it for a lot of people, and that's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for the school, and it's just we need to move on and try to heal things so that Lake of the Woods School can flourish. So I will put an application in. If you get through the process and you can't find anyone better, you have me as an option, or you have an interim. And interims are usually retired superintendents that come in. Salary-wise, you might pay a little bit more, but usually they don't come with benefit costs. But they've probably been through it and can usually come in and get the district through that year as you look for candidates. So you have options.
And then, since you're up there, I wanted to just kind of, I took down a couple notes here, just perhaps to avoid any public confusion, because some of the feedback I had gotten, I think there was just a lot more questions out there than answers, given kind of how things transpired. And from what I kind of gathered, is some of the confusion may have stemmed from, for some, not all, about this meeting. And I know online on the school's website, it was posted as, quote, it was a work session, but it said, quote, for discussion of rescinded superintendent resignation. some folks, I think, may have interpreted
That it was
that
already a
as
done
it was
action.
already a done
Yeah.
deal, and I just want to be very clear that,
No,
no,
that's,
the decision hasn't been made, and that's why we're here for discussion.
mhm.
And I believe the similar posting then got posted by the school on Facebook.
Yep.
And that language was, quote, discuss the rescinded superintendent resignation and potential superintendent search. And I felt
Yep.
that that one was better
Yep.
labeled. So for anybody that may have any confusion about, there hasn't been, we've been privy to the situation that the superintendent has as far as resigning. Obviously, board accepted resignation.
Yeah.
But a decision hasn't been made. First and foremost, there's quite a few folks who have reached out by phone call to me, text message, email, and I'd like to, thank every single person, no matter your view, that's reaching out, because I invite that. I want to hear from people. I want to hear from not just the select few that show up here. And I encourage between now and the next our next meeting for people to continue to reach out and share. I will say that where I stood as I came in here today, my suggestion was going to be, and recommendation and discussion was going to be before posting the position for open up the position to, outside here. And kind of a lot of that drives it is, I think, and you touched a lot on it, which I appreciate. It's just, we have 2 referendums that didn't pass. We have a community, and each person has their own views, and some, they're right to every single person that has those views, are fans of your leadership, or there's folks out there who are not fans of your leadership. Our school is in a financial situation which we need some form of change, and our recent hope was through referendums. And I feel like our school is currently weathering quite a bit of a storm, and that's where I was disappointed at that point in time, that at that time when we're weathering the storm, that the captain was ready to jump ship. And I think that's what led to even growing even more frustration about the situation. Perhaps you've kind of felt that.
Yeah.
And so, it ends up kind of becoming a little bit of a moot point. I appreciate your recommendation to continue, to go forward with searching. I'd like to take up a little more of the folks' time here. Some of the issues that have been addressed regarding that decision to move forward has been, as far as against going and seeking the new superintendent, has been that it might not be financially responsible for the school. It's going to cost a little bit of money for the hiring process.
$2,900
Yep.
for the search.
And there's a potential there for a different superintendent's wage, might be demanding more, right?
Yeah. Or which part of the process when you meet with MSBA is to set your salary range. Yeah. And I would recommend strongly that you sit down with Sheena and I to come up with what's the minimum do we think we need to advertise to attract someone, and what's the most that we can actually pay. And don't sugarcoat it.
Yep.
Because no one wants to come in thinking you're going to pay $160,000, and you're sitting here thinking you're going to pay $110,000. So that's part of the process. And you can advertise as a part-time superintendent position. That's some of the discussion you have to have. What fits the district? And that's what you're looking for. There's not a lot of superintendents out there searching, at least with any kind of experience. It doesn't mean you might not find someone. You might find someone, hey, I'll go up there part-time and go fishing, and so.
I could take it for the next 2 or 3 hours probably talking, but,
We'll give you like 10 minutes.
give it
How's
some, to
that
some,
sound?
I'll let somebody else say something or add something, and if they would like to.
I also appreciate all the emails, phone calls, the turnout that we have tonight here of everybody getting involved, and like you had stated that that's what we want. So anybody that's listening in on this, we want more input. We want you guys to call us. We want you guys to email us. I've read every single email that I've received. I've made phone calls back to people that have left me messages, so certainly appreciate that and want that to continue forward. Superintendent Nelson's comments tonight has changed my comments coming into this meeting on continuing forward with a search. And like we said, it is going to cost a little bit of money, but continuing forward, and Miss Superintendent Nelson putting his application in would be great, and we're just going to continue forward with that, and continue sending us your thoughts and your emails so that we can understand what the community and everybody else is thinking, so that we can help with the decision making as a board.
I agree with a lot of what you said, especially regarding the search itself might be difficult. We don't know if we're going to find anyone.
Yeah.
That's very true. However, a lot of the feedback that I have received has in large part been criticism of just taking back and not following a process.
Sure. I
And
understand
I do think that when it comes to school, and no one can expect you to not seek employment elsewhere if this is what we decide to do. I mean, that's a big ask. However, in the current position, I think the school's actually sitting very well in the sense of we can continue to look for a superintendent, and also if that doesn't yield something that the board all agrees on that is a better fit for the school, we'd hope that you would apply then and go that
Appreciate
way.
that. Yep.
And I think that's why, to me, I think it would be very irresponsible to pull the resignation and not follow a formal process. I think it makes us look corrupt. That's been some of the comments
Okay.
that I've received. And financially, I guess that wasn't my concern, the $2,900. And mainly just because I made it pretty clear in the last board meeting that I wasn't taking a salary. I think the school will recuperate that pretty quick. However, like I said, I personally think the school is sitting well in the sense that you're not gone,
I'm here at the very least till June 30th.
but we can
So,
continue
yeah.
to look. And
Yeah.
if it yields Jeff again,
Yeah,
that's fine.
that's fair. Yep.
And
And while I'm here,
that's
I
my
will
sense.
do everything I can to get things done. We'll start working on the referendum, and we'll be talking about the preschool at our next board meeting. So none of that stuff slows down or goes away in this process. In fact, we got a lot of stuff to get done here in a short time, but I appreciate that.
Kayla, any comments?
Sorry, I can't find my microphone, but, I do not have any comments at this time. I just want to, thank Jeff for sharing at the beginning of the meeting. And it's a big job to do. And to me so far. And like Jerem said, you know, I hope that people continue to do so. I've had a lot of different feelings so far throughout this whole process. So I'd just like to take the next week and what is today? The next board meeting's in like a week and a half. To just kind of take that to think about everything. I am leaning towards the decision though to continue with the search, but I guess we'll just make that final decision as a group at our next meeting.
Okay, thanks, Robin. Well, I guess then, kind of the last one to say anything. Thank you, Mr. Nelson, for your comments and your statement. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not going to say necessarily one way or the other which way to go. There are benefits to both, and there are yeah, there's good and bad to both. The one thing I do want to bring to the public's attention, I had somebody, I forget if it was today or yesterday, or they had asked me, well, what has Jeff done financially for the school? I mean, it's like we had the whole fiasco with insurance and the check from the state, and so what has he actually done? And it's like, well, actually, Jeff, I will tell everybody, he's done a good job of directing the school. I mean, it's unfortunate, especially the check, the way that happened and caused problems. I can speak because, I mean, I've been on the board for a few years, that Jeff has been beating the drum that we need to be fiscally responsible and we need to reorganize things. Sometimes people weren't happy with the reorganization, but he's had good judgment in that respect, and I appreciate that. It's just a lot of times it happened in meetings and it was subtle enough that I think the vast majority of people, unless you were really paying attention, probably didn't even notice. So yes, Mr. Nelson has done a lot of good for the school. Some of the decisions were hard, and I just want to thank him for that, whichever way things go. I guess I don't have anything necessarily to add that hasn't already been said. So I guess that's all I've got.
Probably just have one more question, because I know I'm going to get this. And it's, during your comments earlier, you had mentioned about, you know, you staying here provides, you know, continuity at a critical time, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the feedback that I'm sure I'm going to hear is that wasn't necessarily demonstrated by the choice to leave and then the choice to come back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how would you respond to that observation, if you would?
Well, like I said, it was a situation that I had an opportunity to go back to some of my stomping grounds. And it's been 10 years since there was an opening there for a superintendent position, so it was one of those things. And it hasn't been easy the last 3 years. We've made more cuts in 3 years than I have in 10 years. And they haven't been easy cuts, because it's been people. And regardless of some of the business office area mistakes that we've talked about many times, our enrollment and revenue, regardless of whatever happened with that, demanded that we adjust staffing at Lakely Woods. We just did not have enough revenue coming in to support those expenses. Our numbers have declined. 31 kids since 2019, I believe, if I remember the numbers right. That you can't sustain that, and we don't have a lot of, we have $24 per pupil operating levy right now. which it generates $10,000 for our kids. That's not enough extra money to cover all of our expenses. So I feel with the tough decisions we made in the last 3 years and the tough cuts, that we've turned the ship in the right direction. We're not out of the woods yet. I mean, our fund balance, our unassigned fund balance is nowhere near where it needs to be. Some of our reserve funds, like capital outlay and some of those things, we've dipped in to adjust our unassigned balance. But I think we're projecting next year unassigned fund balance of over $300,000. So there's lots of things that can happen before that. It's a projection. But that tells me our expenses aren't exceeding our revenue, and that's basically where we're at. So I don't know any other way that we could have addressed our financial situation without those massive cuts. And in this job, doesn't matter what I do, which direction I go, what decision I make, someone's not going to be happy. You know, and that's just the nature of the job. And I do not come naturally with that. I'm a person pleaser, unfortunately. Doesn't make it easy when you gotta not please people. So it's part of the position. And it's not the first district that's gone through some tough times with a superintendent, and sometimes it's better to change the captain, because I don't know. I don't think there's the people that are not in favor of me, it doesn't matter what I do to change their mind. Some people maybe, but there's some that no matter what I do, they don't feel I'm the best person for that, and that's just part of it. And I do know that I got lots of friends, and I have a lot of support too. So I haven't forgot that. I just have grown weary of the divisionness in the building and in the community over the school. It's not healthy. And we need to find a way to get over it, move on, and start working on making things better. So that's where I'm at.
Anything else? Okay. Anyone?
What is the average life expectancy of a superintendent? You know, like, is there a number that people usually last?
I want to say 4 to 6 years for most. So I've exceeded my life expectancy.
I'm just, I mean, when you use the phrase of sometimes the ship needs a different captain,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
and like, you don't need to say publicly, I mean, sometimes that changes really, it's very
Yeah.
fluid, but
Yeah.
approximately how many would you think you have left?
Me?
Like, what would you
I
like
have
to
about
see?
7 years left.
Okay,
5 to 7. I hope.
sure.
I don't. I could drop over any day now. So, but
Well,
yeah. But yeah, I'd say 5 to 7. I'm hoping. Yeah. I
and
guess.
is that like, because that's later in the career for a superintendent, and then they just retire, or they go on hop districts, or they go on?
Some like the hop districts. I'm not. That's not me.
Sure.
You know, I wouldn't spend 29 years in the same place if that was my feeling. A lot of them will retire and then they'll do an interim gig. So
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, there isn't as many superintendent positions as there is, say, for this teaching staff or something, so I see it as a ladder system, so I don't know.
yeah,
That
and
would
some
take some
people want to go to a
social
bigger, higher paying position, and that's not the direction I was going. So, but that's part of the superintendency. Sometimes things. It's part of being the top guy on the ladder is people underneath you can make mistakes, and what people look at the person at top to be responsible, and that's just the nature of it. So you do the best to mitigate any errors and do your job to overview it, but sometimes things happen and you pick up the pieces, you make corrections, and weather the storm. So, although that was not in my notes for
else? Any other questions? Okay,
No.
any discussion amongst ourselves? Anything you guys are interested in talking about?
No, I
There's an
I
opportunity
don't-
again.
I don't have much because Superintendent Nelson's, his position presenting today, pretty much in line with what I was considering. So, I don't have much to say at this point in time. Welcome feedback still from folks in the community. It is appreciated. And then I really do thank you for coming here today and sharing your recommendation.
Are you gonna add something, Nate, or?
I was just saying, when it comes to the actual meeting when we vote on this, obviously there's time for discussion there if something arose.
There would,
In between the motion and,
yep, there will be time for
Right.
discussion as well. Between the motion and the vote, so, yep, you're 100% correct.
And technically, you do not have to do a formal vote, in my opinion,
Because
to move forward, because you already established the last board meeting.
with MSBA.
Yeah, I mean, we started the process that was in progress. You can pick that up and start that today. The only thing you would take to the meeting is if you decide to rescind the resignation.
Yeah, it's not an either or vote, it's
Yeah.
a vote to rescind his
That's the
resignation.
only thing that would change. So it doesn't even need to be on the agenda and a vote taken.
He's already resigned, so the
Understood.
only
Yeah.
thing, so we're already in our MSBA's, in our search. So the vote on Monday will be whether or not to rescind his resignation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's a nuance, a detail, but it's a nuanced detail. So that's what the vote would be.
But if you feel the consensus,
I'm trying to get
I would
the
feel
MSBA.
cautious about
I-
getting MSBA on the phone
I would
and start
get-
scheduling
yeah.
until after the next meeting. And
Unless
because
there's,
otherwise,
maybe poll the board, is there anyone that would like to bring that up as an agenda item at the next board meeting to rescind it? That's it. It's not a formal thing, but you can at least get a feeling. If there's no one that's pushing that way, then let's save the time and,
Yeah, technically, we don't even have to put it on the agenda, just as a matter of course, so you're aware.
Yeah.
When you spoke to MSBA last time,
Mhm.
I mean, what are like the timelines? Like now are we like pushed back the next amount of time because we
No.
lost like our spot in
they have all of the data, they have all your surveys. They're just, and they know that this discussion's happening.
Okay.
So they expect something to hear back, but they'll just pick up where they left off a week ago. And the next thing is basically scheduling a schedule with Lee Warren to get the ball rolling. It's at least 6 weeks out before you're even going to be interviewing people. I mean, that's usually how long the process is.
Sure, I just wasn't aware of like what kind of team they have for this, and if when we hit the pause button, if now we can't pick back
Yep.
up until like April.
No. He's got the contact information. He can call him tonight and start looking at dates to meet. So
Sure.
Okay. Then, I guess, hadn't really planned on it, but there's not too many people. If, I'll give a couple of people a chance to talk if you guys want to.
If you want to
If anyone
find a
wants
mic
to.
though, you've been requesting. Thank you.
I'm William Mueller. I guess what I wanted to share as an input is I've enjoyed working under Jeff. Right now I'm working in the capacity of custodial bus driver, and I've been doing so since 2015, but I've been working in the school since 2011, sometimes as substitute teacher, lifeguard, swimming instructor. And so I know what the school's been through before he came, to some degree. And I really appreciate how he's kind of, righted the ship and his interpersonal skills in particular. I think he does a good job of dealing with people and, of keeping peace in the school, in a difficult time. Craig, kind of share, about the resignation issue. I wish he would have waited until things were more finalized. My feeling is I would like to rescind it, but I also understand, where the public sentiment is and why you might want to do a search. I do get that. Personally, I like Jeff quite a bit, and I would hate to see him go. And I know he took a cut during this difficult time in his own pay. I think that's something not everybody maybe does realize. And I know that he's doing the best he can. I know he cares. And I guess that's what I want to share. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I guess in that case, Rob and Kayla, you guys have any last comments, questions, anything?
I do just want to add quick, again, echoing the rest of the board as well, just thanking people for reaching out. I missed in saying that the first time around, but just thanking people for reaching out and finding our contact info. That is what we're here for. And that this is a challenging decision and situation to work with. So just to know that we're working through it and doing the best we can for the district.
Okay, Robin, anything?
No, I'm good. Thank you, though.
Okay. And yeah, I guess as a parting comment, I will echo what everyone else has said. All the board members, our information, our contact information, email, and phone numbers are on the school's website. We're easy to track down and get a hold of. If anybody wants to get a hold of us, any of us, or all of us at the same time, there's been a number of those, and I encourage it. So in that case, at 6:42, I'll call this working session closed. Thank you.